What is up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of From the Booth to the Court. It's your boy Warren. We are back with another fire video for the channel. Now, in today's video, I'm actually going to be talking about the Houston Rockets organization. Now, we all know that they got eliminated in the second round to Golden State, so it's not basically current on-the-court basketball stuff we're talking about. Obviously, we in the finals, and Golden State is going against the Raptors, but we're not talking about on-the-court stuff when it comes to Houston. We are talking about off-the-court stuff that's happening. You know, stuff in the news that's basically coming from that organization. Okay. So everybody had high hopes and high expectations for the Houston Rockets, especially with them taking the Golden State Warriors to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals last year. A lot of people felt they would have won that series if Chris Paul would have never got injured. But I mean, Chris Paul pretty much has been injury prone the last 4 or 5 seasons, so it was nothing new to see him go down with an injury, and they actually lost that season. I mean, coming into this season, the Golden State Warriors were basically the favorites out west again, and a lot of people was basically questioning what Houston did the offseason, you know, getting rid of Trevor Ariza and a few of the defensive players that actually gave them that defensive mentality. And, you know, Mike D'Antoni as a coach is a coach who's basically not known for defense. He mainly focuses on offense. So the Houston Rockets, they started the season off a little bit rocky, basically, you know, not winning a lot of games, and then Chris Paul getting injured, but James Harden just went on the MVP-like tear. He's basically dropping 30-plus every game and was able to get them back into playoff contention. They go into the playoffs. Now, when they lost to the Golden State Warriors in the second round, a lot of people was basically pointing fingers at different things. They were saying that James Harden wasn't aggressive enough in the fourth quarter, even though the man is doing pretty much everything for the team. Then they pointing fingers at, you know, Chris Paul, saying that he's basically been inconsistent and not showing up and not being that co-star that James Harden need, you know, to be able to push this team forward, especially with him getting that much money. And then they pointing fingers at D'Antoni with his coaching style and basically saying that, you know, his way of coaching is basically never going to be a winning way for any coaching, you know, job that he has in the NBA. And I mean, looking at his record and what he's been doing with every team that he coached is definitely proven to be true. I mean, it's been times where he's basically getting out-coached. His team ain't holding no defense. And I mean, you can score and all that, but if you're not stopping nobody from scoring and you can't get those stops when you need them, you're never going to be successful in getting the team to the finals. And I mean, he's basically proven that. So a lot of people had questions with those 3 things. But after they lost that second round matchup, the first thing we was hearing in news rumors coming from Houston is that they was looking to consider extending Mike D'Antoni's contract as a coach for the Houston Rockets. Now, a lot of people were for it just because they have been successful with him. James Harden has definitely been playing MVP-like ball under his actual guidance. But I mean, looking at the history, you got a lot of people who basically got MVP-like stuff, you know, with having him as a coach. I mean, Steve Nash did it twice. You know, James Harden did it. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into being able to play under his system. And a lot of people was questioning whether or not that's a good move if they want to, you know, continue to fight for championships. Maybe looking elsewhere possibly would be the move for coaching. So that was back and forth. And, you know, when we was hearing that, everybody was like, okay, cool, that might be a good thing. But as of recently, you know, Houston announced that they have actually, you know, stopped all contract negotiations with that extension. And then they basically saying that everybody on the roster, they are open for hearing trade talks when it comes to those players, and that's including James Harden. Now, I definitely don't believe that James Harden is going to get moved because he's an MVP-like player. He's an all-star in this league, so if you're going to basically trade him, you're going to trade him for an all-star MVP-like player in return. So unless that deal happens, I don't really see, you know, James Harden moving, but a lot of other pieces and a lot of other players on that team are definitely players that I see could be moved. I mean, you got P.J. Tucker, who's basically a good player who could fill in a small forward role, probably starting or coming off the bench on, you know, championship contention teams. He actually is one of the players on that team who holds D. He's basically a good three-point shooter, so I feel a lot of teams are in need of that and definitely would want a player like that. And then you got Eric Gordon, who's also solid from three-point. He's a good veteran, is basically able to get points. And I feel like a lot of up-and-coming teams with maybe young players that are wanting to get some veteran leadership to be able to teach their young players will look for a player like Eric Gordon, as well as other, teams who are in championship contention. They can always use another shooter. He's definitely a good piece to add. And then you got a player like Clint Capella, who's a solid big. He defends the rim well. He actually rebounds well. And, he did re-sign a contract. So, a lot of players will have to look at the money issue if they were wanting to pursue a Clint Capella. But that's another player I feel is solid. But looking at other players on the list that I feel it would be hard to move, and that main player is Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul, he signed a massive contract. I think it was like a $240 million contract with the Houston Rockets, which a lot of people, including myself, was questioning why you would do that with a player who's Chris Paul age. Like Chris Paul, 32, 33. Last 4 or 5 seasons, he's not been able to compete and be healthy. He's always injured, especially in critical times and playoff runs or, spots in the season. And he just basically, I don't even think the man can play 15 games in a row. I'm just keeping it 100. I don't feel like he can do that. Like, he's been injured pretty much every year. He has some type of injury. So to pay him that kind of money, he's like making more money than James Harden on the team, which is ridiculous and which is crazy. So I don't feel nobody is going to want to take that actual contract on. Now, I have been hearing rumors that, maybe the Lakers would want to make a move for Chris Paul because Chris Paul and LeBron are homies. They are good friends. And the Lakers, they actually are known for paying out dumb contracts and dumb money anyway. So, they don't mind, going over the cap. So Chris Paul possibly going there could be a great possibility just because the Lakers, their organization is in shambles, and LeBron basically needs people who he can trust in that organization, and Chris Paul is definitely somebody he can trust. So I can see that happen, but I just feel like it seems like Houston is really wanting to actually kind of do an overhaul to the team. I'm not saying they want to rebuild. I'm not saying that they basically just want to push everybody out and just basically, tank and try to get draft picks like the Knicks or something, but they are definitely wanting to restructure that team to be able to compete and be better. And, with them saying they willing to hear trade talks for everybody is basically a sign of that. I feel Houston, they GM, he basically have been doing some moves, over the past few years, getting top talent or getting good pieces to try to go for a championship. So I definitely see where his mind is. They went out, they got James Harden, they got Dwight Howard, they traded for Chris Paul, did all these things. So I definitely feel like he is wanting to do that, but just don't feel like it's possible with the team. But, those are my thoughts. How do you feel about Houston? Do you feel like they maybe just want to cut ties with everybody and possibly start over from scratch and rebuild? Do you feel that, they would be able to make some good trades as far as this offseason? Who do you feel that they would trade? Who do you feel needs to be traded? Do you feel that they would even trade James Harden? If so, what possible trades you think could happen for James Harden? Or do you think that, that's just rumor news and really Houston is not looking to do any of what's being put out in the media? Maybe they are looking to extend the contract still with the coach Mike D'Antoni. Just what do you feel? Put it in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're actually uploading videos about basketball and hip-hop, throughout the week. Hit that bell so you can actually be notified when we put new videos up. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, hey, give it a thumbs down. We all honest. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Roy from the booth to the court, and we out.